Canada Salter from A Perfect 10 here today. So in 1994, Canada Salter started her career in Colorado as a stylist and quickly became one of the youngest district managers in the Regis Corporation. After 7 years in business, she took a different career path, starting her own business, her insurance agency in Las Vegas. During this time, her son Leighton and her daughter Taylin, did I pronounce that right? Okay, were born. In 2010, Canada decided to sell the agency and move to Rapid City in order to be closer to her family roots. She had an epiphany and identified a niche in the beauty industry, calling for clean, quality nail salons that focused on natural nails with properly licensed staff. Thus the concept of a Perfect 10 and Perfect 10 Nail and Beauty Bar was born. Canada developed the interior design of all 5 salons with custom-built nail bars at bar height, plush manicure chairs, and an upbeat atmosphere that clients love. And believe me, I go there frequently, so I can attest to that. So does my 8-year-old daughter. Come and sip your favorite wine, beer, or sparkling beverage of your choice while relaxing and enjoying some pampering. As a licensed cosmetologist, Canada worked at the nail bar as a stylist for the first year to make sure there was a clear understanding of what the clients expected from a Perfect 10. The demand of her specialty services created the need for a second Rapid City location, closely followed by a third, then further expanded with 2 stores in Sioux Falls. And demand for quality nail service has only grown, so keep your eyes open and to see how much a Perfect 10 continues to grow. With that, I give you Canada Salter.
Thank you. So that really actually helped because that eliminates a lot of the minutes that I had to worry about. My story is, I think, intriguing to a lot of people because it's very non-traditional in the aspect of I'm not college educated. My story is purely of perseverance and determination. I was raised in a family that my dad was an entrepreneur himself and was extremely successful. He didn't even graduate high school. He had a GED. And then my mom worked at home grinding bits that they use for like drilling metal holes, like a drill bit thing. She worked from home. So I really watched that. So my senior year in high school, my counselor pulls me in and she says, "So Canada, what are you going to do?" And I said, I don't know. I just don't know if college is for me. I'm not like the greatest student. I don't test well. And she said, you will absolutely amount to nothing if you don't go to college and get an education. So I was like, oh, okay, well, I guess I'll be going to college. So I go off to college, and the first week in, I'm sitting in class, and I'm like, what am I doing? Like, I don't have any direction. I'm not sure where I want to go in life. Don't want to be in school. So I left that class and went straight to my advisor's office, and I said, what's the withdrawal period? She said 2 weeks. I said, great, withdraw me. Give me all my money back. I'm not doing this. So I always had a passion for the beauty industry. And what I realized and learned about that is it's an amazing fallback career. So until I figured out what I was going to do when I grew up, I thought, well, I have this career that you can do absolutely anywhere you go. You just have to get licensed by the state that you're in. And so I went to cosmetology school. And my dad was like, oh my God, Canada, you're not going to make any money doing that. How are you going to support yourself? And I'm like, trust me, I'll figure it out. So I get through school, start as a stylist, and I had a fascination immediately with leadership. And I think as leaders and business owners that we kind of have this, we're born with this just natural ability to lead. And what I realized in working for the Regis Corporation in those salons is I didn't like corporate America and the way that they treated their people. They were just numbers, and they had no value for the people that generated the income for the business. And I was always the voice. How I got fired, I'll never know, but I was respectful and standing up to the vice president of the company and all of the upper management and saying, how can you guys honestly look at somebody and give them a nickel raise? Like, that is an absolute insult. And so when I left that industry, I was kind of just burnt out from A, the industry, and B, corporate America. And started my insurance agency, and that's where the real entrepreneurship came in. Is I thought, I am a way better employer than I am an employee, because the concept to me was really simple. Just treat people how you want to be treated. Really easy, right? So I knew I didn't want to do insurance forever, and I had the opportunity to sell my agency, and I did. And that's when I relocated to Rapid City. Had my epiphany. Now, when I came to Rapid City, I took some time just to be a mom because I am a workaholic, and my kids kind of needed some of my time. And they were 4 and 5, I think, at the time, 4 and 6. And so I had 5 different business ideas and concepts in my idea notebook. I call it my roadmap. I have notebooks and notebooks and notebooks of all my ideas that I jot down. None of which were a salon. None of them. I kept my license up for all those years. Wasn't sure if I was ever going to use it again or not. And went and had a nail experience at a typical nail salon that we all know about. And I left, and that was when I had the epiphany. I'm like, oh my gosh, as consumers, we're so misled of what a quality nail salon, properly licensed people that pay payroll taxes and income taxes and all of those things. And so 60 days later, I opened up my first location on Omaha Street. And I just was like, with my background that I had from working with Regis as a district manager overseeing 15 salons, I got my education by working hands-on in the industry and in the business. I mean, they taught me how to read P&Ls, they taught me how to recruit, they taught me how to interview, they taught me how to terminate, they taught me how to file or follow labor laws, all of those things. And I knew that there was more to learn, but so that first year, 8 months in, the biggest complaint was we can't get in, we can't get in, we can't get in. My 5-year business plan, based on the demographics here, there was no way I thought Rapid City could support more than 1 location. And lo and behold, 2 comes, same problem, 3 comes, and I'm like, okay, I've got every corner of the city, you know, stapled down. So that's when I branched off and went into Sioux Falls. So 5 locations, 4 years. I had an initial investment of $50,000. Every location has funded the next. And I live very, very conservatively to make sure that I wasn't acquiring company debt. Getting ready to open my 6th location, which will be another location in Sioux Falls. And then at this point, you know, I have opportunities to franchise, I have opportunities to continue to grow, I have opportunities to, you know, maybe follow a passion of speaking and inspiring other entrepreneurs, that sometimes we have a tendency to make things harder than we need to instead of just chasing our dreams. And sometimes we just figure stuff out as we go. Like I don't have a mentor that I go to and say, hey, here's the problem I'm having. I just figure it out. Like those are my 3 favorite words, and I say those to my managers all the time. If you want it bad enough, you figure it out. Find a solution. And it might not be the best one, but that's how you're going to get to the next stage and the next step. So we'll see what happens after this. So I manage my managers. I have 5 managers. I have my marketing person who works remotely out of Sioux Falls and is kind of my person out there that helps with anything that I need. And then I have 4 internal staff. We have a booking center that controls all of our calls. So if you call and you want to get into one location and it's booked, they don't have to hang up and you hope they call the right number to get to the next salon. We automatically say, we have a spot open at this location, would you like to go there? So with that, I've had to spend very, very little money on marketing because every phone call that comes in, we have 1 phone number. And it comes to the same place every single time. So it's been an exciting venture. I have 72 employees. That's been really challenging and it's been really fun because, as you guys all know, for those of you who do have employees are hard to manage, and especially the generation that we're dealing with. But that challenge is kind of fun to me because what we were taught in work ethic and morals in the workplace is completely different now. So it's really fun for me to have conversations with these younger generations of what they expect in workplaces and kind of find a happy medium to the expectations and guidelines that are met. Retention rate, I have employees that have been with me the whole 7 years since I opened. My manager's been with me anywhere from 6 to 7 years. So we offer full health benefits. It's something you can't get in this industry. And so what I did was I really just figured out how to set ourselves apart from other nail salons and in the industry, what made us different. So we'll see what comes next. I don't know. I just wait and figure that out. And again, I think sometimes we make things harder than we need to because we want to know what's going to happen. So I'd love to open it up to you guys for any questions that you have or any struggles that you are running into that maybe I could give you some advice.
J.D. Henderson with Wrangle Construction Company. Just wanted to know, as you were getting started as a starter-upper, how did you market? What was your marketing strategy?
So it was really interesting in a market like Rapid City, which was really nice because we're not in like a Denver and LA market where we're, you know, a little fish in a big pond. So what I did was word of mouth was huge, and that is in our community. I didn't have a lot of money to put into marketing and advertising, and the great thing about not living in a high crime or high eventful city is the newspaper business section is always looking for things to write about, free. So they wrote a really nice article, so that drove business. And then it just got involved with whatever I could that was focused on the demographic that I was targeting. So they're like, there's gone to events and things like that. And then because it was different and unique, I mean, word just spread like wildfire. And offering beer and wine, I mean, that was a huge marketing thing for me of word of mouth. Is I don't even know if people were as interested as I wanted them to be in the manicure and pedicures. They were just excited that they could drink when they got a service. And then they were like, wow, this is actually pretty cool. I think we'll go back. So does that help at all? Yeah. Two completely different businesses, obviously. But are you struggling with getting your business out there?
No, our business is getting out there very, very well, but I'm always interested to know how other people do it, so that I can, you know, so that our company can glean good ideas from other companies.
Absolutely,
So.
yeah. Around here, and even in Sioux Falls, God, word of mouth is amazing. And you know, people are like, why don't you go to Denver? Why don't you go to LA? Why don't you go to New York? And I'm like, I am going to target demographics just like South Dakota, North Dakota, Nebraska. A, the competition is very, very little. And B, you don't have to spend a ton of money on marketing because everybody knows everybody. And of course, social media. Social media is amazing. And it's free. I mean, you can pay for it if you want to, but for the most part, that's been a huge, huge friend. So ask for referrals, you know, ask for, or give your clients that do refer you some sort of a perk or something of that sort too. But you might already do that.
I have a related question, Canada. I own two businesses, Harney Business Group and Twilight First Aid and Safety. With our first aid business, we recently started to hit the Gillette market. The reception has been very warm, and so I wonder, unless it's confidential, if you could talk about any plans that you might have for Wyoming, Gillette specifically.
We actually have people that drive to Rapid City from Gillette to get their nails done. So I've had a lot of requests for Gillette. The only reason I've held back from that is that market can be very volatile. And I've watched where it'll peak, do amazing, and then it'll kind of crash. So what it costs to start one of our locations to be nervous about like those peaks and those valleys. And you guys are probably laughing at me, like, oh, a lot of you probably are very like number-based and demographic and statistics and all of that. Everything I've done has purely been on my gut. And I know that probably sounds absolutely crazy, but I went and scouted the market there. I went and scouted the market in Spearfish, tons and tons of requests for both of those locations. And my gut just said, yeah, I mean, I could go to a Bismarck or a Fargo or a, you know, Lincoln, Nebraska or somewhere of that sort, which gets complicated because that's, you know, further distance, but higher staff and reinforcements. But there is definitely opportunity there.
Right.
Yeah, for sure. And Gillette's really cleaned up. It's a nice little city now.
Mike in town on Rapid City. How do you manage excuse me, the Sioux Falls remotely, trying to work from here full time?
Technology, one. So our system is completely web-based. So I can see what's going on in every location at any given moment with customer flow, if stylists are running on time. Every client gets an email when they check out. It gives them an opportunity for feedback. They get to rate us. So there's a lot of opportunity for our customers to interact and give feedback to us, as well as my managers. I have weekly coaching calls with my managers. And so we create lists throughout the week that when we have our coaching call, we talk about our challenges, we talk about our successes, we talk about our growth opportunities. And then I go over there once a quarter, sometimes only twice a year, it just depends. So it boils down to communication. You have to know what's going on. I make every effort I can. It's really hard to know 72 people, so I really make every effort I can when I am there to have a quick one-on-one conversation to really create that personal aspect. And then my marketing gal that works from Sioux Falls as part of my office staff, she is a great resource as well. So if I do need a person, from a more of a upper management standpoint, I can have her step in. But the communication and the weekly coaching calls, like, it's amazing if you just take the time to sit down with your people, undivided, what they can learn from you, because I don't know what I have to teach because I don't know what you don't know, right? So what they learn and how I've seen them grow since I started doing that is unreal. We have a tendency to kind of let our businesses run us, so we're answering questions all day throughout the day. And what I realized is I was spread too thin, and none of my managers were getting any of my time undivided, specifically for them. And so that built a better rapport with my managers, that they felt that undivided attention, that they actually perform better. So, yeah. And that is tough. And again, back to working for Regis, my territory when I was in Colorado, I was living in Fort Collins, and my territory was from Cheyenne, Wyoming to Cherry Creek, if any of you are familiar. So it's a really wide territory. I could get to anywhere I needed to within an hour. Sioux Falls is obviously a little bit further, but it taught me how to manage remotely so that I didn't always have to physically be there. And then we use this app, if any of you, is anybody familiar with Voxer? Oh my gosh, okay. If you communicate a lot with your staff, whether it's voicemails, whether it's phone calls, do you know what it is? It's amazing. And so especially women, like, we have a tendency to take things out of context. Like, if I accidentally capitalize something, they're like, "You're yelling at me." And I'm like, "Oh my gosh, I just accidentally capitalized a letter, or I meant to put a question mark and I put an exclamation. So Voxer is a walkie-talkie app that we literally verbally talk to each other when we're able to. Because I might need something answered right now, but they're with a customer. So instead of trying to chase them all day or leave them a voicemail, I Vox them, and when they're able to, they Vox me back. So we're literally verbally communicating all day long at our convenience. So it's a great tool. My managers love it.
Monique Stevens with South Dakota State University. How do you manage your self-care with running so many businesses and family and stuff?
One of my philosophies, and I teach this to my management team too, is to be proactive so you don't have to be reactive. So I don't ever wait for things to happen. I make sure I'm proactive enough to see if there's problems arising, that we nip them in the bud before they become a problem. So whatever that situation might be. And with proactively managing and the tools that I've implemented with, my web-based software and making my expectations extremely clear. I have a zero tolerance drama policy. Like, I have terminated people on the spot for drama. It is made very, very clear when you start with my company, I do not tolerate drama. We are a healthy work environment. And so I think making those expectations really clear, I actually find throughout the day that I'm looking for things to do. So, and that's where it's either time for expansion or either time for a branch off business or something of that sort. So, and don't get me wrong, I mean, the first 4 years I was working like 17, 18 hours a day and very, very, very tired. But I want to work smart so I don't have to work hard. So really proactive. And that gut feeling that you're like, I kind of can see what's going to happen here, and then we just bury our head in the sand and hope that it fixes itself. I don't bury my head in the sand. And maybe there's not a problem, but I might, go to a manager, an employee, or whatever the situation might be, and I just say, hey, I noticed, whatever, let's talk about it. And so the no drama is huge, though, absolutely huge. Does that help you at all? Yeah. We have a tendency to let our people and our business run us, and throughout the day I'll stop and say, is what I'm doing productive in or on my business? And if it's it's not, I need to stop and redirect myself. And if I'm getting really consumed with busy, mundane tasks, then I need to go back to my delegation chart and figure out where I need to delegate. So then my job becomes follow-up. Did you get that taken care of? Where are we with this? How's this? Where are we here? So that's really what I do all day long, is follow up with my delegated tasks.
All right, I have a question. So with 72 employees, how do you feel like your retention rate is? If you have a higher turnover, is there certain areas or a certain store that seems to be higher? And what are you doing to retain your employees?
So this industry is extremely challenging for retention because the grass is always greener. Or you have employees that think, gosh, Canada's making $38 on his manicure and she's only paying me, $16. They make commission, by the way. I mean, these stylists, one of the reasons I have good retention is because some of them are averaging between $17 and $22 an hour with tips. And painting people's nails, it's not rocket science. So some of the challenges that I run into is the people that don't see the big picture. As a company, you have lights to keep on, you have water to pay, you have payroll taxes, you have benefits, you have all of those things, and they don't see that. So then they're like, great, I learned everything that I need to learn from a company that's very educated in the industry, and I'm going to go do it myself. And so we did at one point have an influx of people that did that and took all of our ideas, our concepts, and went out and started their own. Some made it, some didn't. Some were like, holy crap, this is expensive. I didn't realize how much all that nail polish costs. And so I had to, and I didn't want to have to do this, but you got to protect your business. So I had to implement a non-compete and a non-solicitation because I can't have people using my business and my training techniques to go do it somewhere else or teach somewhere else. I've had people try to copy my whole business model. I've had all kinds of crazy stuff. But really, for the most part, we have very minimal turnover, and actually my Aflac lady says that. She's like, I have a lot of businesses, and she said, you have the least turnover than any of those businesses, and she asks that. And it's really simple. You just treat people how you want to be treated. You talk to people like they're humans, and if there's a problem, let's talk about it. Let's walk it out, let's talk it out. And if we mutually or individually decide that this isn't a fit, if you don't fit into my culture, if you don't fit into what our purpose is, we can amicably part ways and spread your wings and fly. There's no problem with that. So I'm just a real person. And again, I just treat people how I want to be treated. And it works. It's a really simple concept.
Canada, you and I both went through the Goldman Sachs 10,000 Small Businesses program. Do you want to talk just a little bit about that and the impact on who you are as an entrepreneur?
Sure. So the 10,000 Small Business Program, it's out of Babson. Are all of you familiar with that? It's a really, really cool program. And there's criteria that you have to meet in order to apply. Like you have to have a threshold of 125,000.
It's up to 150,000
150,000
of
sales.
A year.
And then you go through an interview process through Skyping. And this program, it's funded through Goldman Sachs. It's at Babson. So during the 6-8 months, how long was that?
12 weeks.
12 weeks? Apparently, I drug it out a little longer. I'm not good of a student. But Babson is amazing. And as you know, there's a very prestigious business college there. So it's all virtual, but you do go to Babson twice. Everything's completely paid for. And you are with a group of entrepreneurs throughout the United States, Puerto Rico, Virgin Islands, and you drill down where you're at in your business. Where's your focus? How are you going to get to the next level? How are you going to grow? So it's very fast-paced. It's very time-consuming. It's very gut-wrenching and having to address those things that you kind of wanted to maybe ignore. They go through from financials to growth to exit strategy to opportunity to, anything and everything that you could think of in this 12-week, in my mind, 6-month long course. So if any of you are to the point where you're really wanting to expand, but you just don't know what to do or how to do it, I highly, highly recommend that you check into this program. It costs you nothing and gives you everything. You're assigned a personal business coach that you have coaching calls with that kind of really challenges you, and you drill down in every aspect of your business. And what I realized through that was the person who I thought was my key person was the person I needed to fire. So it was kind of like church for business is really what it was. I was like, wow, I got to do a gut check here, because the person I thought I needed to get rid of was the person I needed to keep. The person I didn't think I needed to get rid of, I got rid of. And since then, my business has grown 17%. So the people you have in place are huge. And listen to your team. If they don't like one of your supervisors, don't brush that off, listen to them. Because there's things that happen that you don't know about, but they act completely different when you're around. Yeah. And she had completely turned over my entire Sioux Falls staff. It was not good. Not good. But you rebound and you come back.
So Canada, can you tell us about one or two of your biggest struggles, and what did you do to overcome them as an entrepreneur?
I think initially one of my biggest struggles was, how do I do everything myself and still be productive and not go broke doing it. I finally had to swallow the pill that I needed to hire more help that didn't necessarily generate income. So every person I hire generates income for the business, right? So if I hire an administrative person, they're not generating income, but they're freeing up my time. So I really had to do a gut check to swallow that pill, to add that additional payroll that I didn't want to add, that made a huge, huge difference. So it was a struggle of finding that person that you could trust, because nobody can ever replace any of you guys in your business, and that just goes without saying. But finding somebody that you can trust, and finding somebody that your employees who are used to dealing with you can trust as well. So, and then of course delegating. Delegating is always hard, because you're like, I'll just do it myself because it's faster, it's easier, I know it'll get done right. But you're going to spread yourself too thin if you continue to do that. So you have to let people fall, you have to let people fumble, you have to let people make mistakes, and then we talk through it. So that's probably the biggest struggle that I've overcome, at least. And then what was your other question?
Just one or two of the struggles, and then how did you overcome it?
Yeah. So delegation. Follow up.
Rich Schrader with Easy IT. Canada, how do you manage hiring with such a diverse across the state? Are you involved in all of that, or do you utilize outside agencies? How do you manage that?
We do that all internally. So for the first 4 years of business, what I realized, because naturally as an entrepreneur, you kind of have to be a little bit of a control freak, but what I realized is I was managing all of my locations myself. I just had people in there that would do whatever I would tell them. And so I was doing all of the interviewing and all of the hiring and all of the HR and all of the books and all of these things. And I thought, why do I have managers in my locations if I'm doing all of this stuff? So I had to bring all my managers in, and we went through interviewing. What does that look like? We role played. Then I sat in on interviews and conducted the interviews so they could watch how that happened and how it interacted. And then the next interview they would have to conduct, and I would sit in there until they got to that point that they were comfortable. And so everything's done internally. So if one location is needing staff, that one manager is the one that does all the interviewing and the hiring and the onboarding and that process. And it's a challenge, boy. You get people that show up in sweats. You get people that literally look like they rolled out of bed. You get people that are like, I hate to work, but I need a job. Like, don't say that in an interview. Like it's, so we just, and of course, you know, it's hard not to get frustrated, but we just kind of make it a standing joke and laugh about it. We're like, oh, I got one for you. And we always try to one-up each other with it. Otherwise, you just kind of start to get defeated because the interviewing process is painful. And finding good staff. I mean, that's a challenge. It's never going to go away. So when you find good staff, take care of them. And taking care of them doesn't mean just throwing money at them. Just treat them like a person.
Canada, a related question. I think this is on. I've heard the adage, hire slow, fire fast. Do you follow that in your salons?
Yes, absolutely. We put all of our employees at least through a 2-interview process, at least, sometimes 3. So we do a screening interview over the phone, and then we do a physical interview, and then we do what we call a hands-on interview. So they actually come in, if they're stylists, they have to bring in a model and perform a basic manicure so we can see if they even have the skills that we can teach or train them. If it's a different position, they'll come in and shadow for that hour so that we can just see them interact and what, you know, because the people are great at interviewing and saying exactly what we need to hear. And then we hire them and we're like, this is not the same person I interviewed. Nothing is similar whatsoever. So we definitely do that. And I make our expectations so extremely clear, and I just have a zero tolerance policy. And unfortunately, I had to make an example of a couple of people so that people took me seriously, and it terminated pretty quickly. And my managers know that my philosophy in staffing is I will be short-staffed before I have shitty staff. Because that impacts your business so bad. I would rather people be upset because they can't get in because we're not staffed and tell me that I need to recruit and hire than have people come in and have a horrible experience that they go tell everybody else about. So turning business away is painful, but don't hire a person just to have a body. It's going to hurt you worse than you realize. So be okay with being short-staffed instead of having shitty staff.
Carolyn Ness from Northern Plains Eye Foundation. So I'm curious, I don't frequent nail salons, I don't mean that as an insult or anything like that, but so what's, other than the beer and wine, what kinds of things set you apart from the rest of the industry?
Sure. The first thing is our atmosphere. So we are actually set up, everything's custom built. And how it started, the beer and wine thing was completely an afterthought. It was that as a stylist, I knew that I very selfishly couldn't sit all day, and it's bad for your posture, and you don't burn calories sitting, and all of those things. So when I designed the nail bar at bar height, when it all started coming to life, I was like, sweet, this looks like a bar. How cool would that be to add beer and wine and such? And so when you come in, the atmosphere is completely different. We really pride ourselves on being clean, disinfecting our tools. Everybody speaks very, very clear English, and I mean that with all due respect. We have a benefit program for being a member. So there's a monthly membership like a gym. That is a substantial staple in my business is our monthly memberships, because it's like the gym. If you belong to a gym, you're not going to go to a different one because you're already paying to go to this one. And so there's a lot of perks and benefits for that. Everybody is properly licensed. That's a big thing in our industry, is where the general public, and that's all I can do is just educate, that there's a lot of people in nail salons that A, aren't legal, and B, do not have a license to be providing the services, and C, they're not disinfecting properly, you know. So it's kind of a big deal in that aspect. But the most common feedback that I get from customers, again, with all due respect, is that it was so nice to walk in and understand everybody when they're talking to me, and to be able to use my debit or credit card. So to us, it's a normal business. But in the industry as itself, as nail salons, it's profoundly different.
What complications have you had with the beer and wine license? Has that been a major issue or just a nice add-on?
It's been an amazing add-on. When I first applied for the beer and wine license, the city was like, so you're a bar? No, I'm a nail salon. So it took a lot of explaining to the city council, and then they're like, okay, well, we need a map, and you have to mark out all the parking spots and where the bushes are. I'm like, what do the bushes have to do with a beer and wine license? It's the process. So they were very nice in walking it out with me instead of just shutting me down and understanding that you can't just come in and drink. We're not dealing with intoxicated people. I mean, people have 1, maybe 2 glasses of wine unless we're dealing with a bridal party or something of that sort. So it's been very easy, fortunately. You know, obviously I have to have a good background, so I don't have any, you know, felonies or issues on my part, because they definitely check out the person applying for the license. And then, you know, we don't have any complaints or issues, and so it's been really easy. Now, as we expand into other states, it's probably going to get tricky because sometimes beer and wine is lumped in with alcohol, and it's one license, or some they might not allow it at all. So it's a great marketing tool, but it's not the staple of the business by any means. That has been so rewarding in itself and helping other people learn and grow. What I realized is sharing your knowledge and teaching other people, that's how I learned. And so when I think about my managers now that have been with me for 6 and 7 years, I joke about when they came in the door and applied, and I was like, oh my God, your hair looked like a bird's nest. And it was bleached like so badly that if you touched it, it was probably going to break off, and your makeup. And so I'm like, we need to start taking pictures when people come to work for us, because it's just fun to watch them grow as a person. It's fun to watch them grow professionally. So my one manager that's been with me the longest, she was so shy. She could barely even make eye contact when she talked. Extremely shy. And she's been a manager for me now for 5 years. And, you know, and still to this day, every time she's like, I did it, I didn't even cry, or, you know, just those things, and I'm like, woo, you know, and we joke that I'm like, okay, you got to go into Canada character here, like you have to play the part, so whatever that takes to go into character in your head, then you do that. And what's really exciting is, and rewarding, I should say, is to know the trust they have in me, that I promise you'll be successful if you just listen and just follow. I will never, ever, ever set anybody up to fail. And if I see you failing, I will pick you up and I will help you, but you have to help yourself. So if you fail, it's on you. But we have such a good, and they know business is business. They know when I am upset that it is not personal by any means. I don't yell at them, but I have no problem with constructive criticism that, you know what, I've asked you to do this 3 times, you haven't done it, tell me why you haven't done it, and tell me when it's going to be done. And they beat themselves up worse than me. I don't ever even have to redirect them if I just call them out on it, because they don't want to let me down. So that, you know, and that goes for a lot of my managers, honestly. They're like, I never would have thought I could do this. But, you know, just believing in people and seeing what people have and value that they bring, and giving them the ball, and then they choose to run with it. That's been a lot of fun. You know, I think one of the biggest things that I've ran into is, at this point, 7 years in the business of not having any company debt is really rewarding, but that's one of the things that we learned at Goldman Sachs is, in order to grow, you're probably going to have to acquire some of that debt. Well, because of that, I can't get financing. So I have no debt, I have an extremely profitable business, and I have a fantastic FICO score. And people will not lend to me. It is so bizarre. So I've had to look for private investors and lenders, of which I've not taken any of those avenues yet, but it's very difficult. Like, they make this SBA program look like it's super, super easy. No, they're like, your business makes $3 million a year, you have an 800 FICO score, you're profitable, sorry, we can't lend to you. It's the craziest thing. So that is something that I think would be really cool to develop, you know, something of a resource to go to of, I've done everything right, and because I've done everything right, I can't grow unless I look for private investors. And to be honest, if I were going to grow to the level that I want to, a bank's not the person I need to turn to anyway, because they don't understand that. You're going to have to go to private money. But, you know, how do you find that? Where do you go? Who do you talk to? What does that look like? If people want part of your business, like, how much of your business do you give? And so,
We have a good connection for you, so we can help you.
Awesome.
So,
very cool.
okay, so let's give it up for Canada for